Greetings, everyone, and love and light to you. There are some things that I'm going to be speaking about today that may be hard to digest and to take in as truth. But let me just say, I am a mirror for you, here to remind you of what you may know deep down inside of you and may have just forgotten for a while. There is something that is going on Earth right now. And I am sorry I haven't realized this sooner, but I guess I was caught up with my own channel and my own kind of creations, and I didn't really look and see what other people were going through. But I awoke today at 4 a.m. to be called to dissociative disorders, and all of the people that are coming out with their blogs on YouTube are describing themselves as going through a really hard time of just completely removing themselves from their lives, and they just are struggling emotionally with this. I want to read to you first the definition, the clinical definition of this disorder, and then I'm going to explain to you what it means spiritually. If you have watched my previous video about Welcome to New Earth, some of you may have not been ready to hear that. And I think my message was for those that needed confirmation that what they were already kind of feeling inside, that this is happening, this is real, this is now. But if you did not get a chance to watch that video, then that's okay, because this basically is the basics of who I want to reach out to. I want to reach out to those that are experiencing this disorder and those that are saying that it's only a mental illness and they're going to doctors for it. Here is the clinical definition. Dissociation disorder is defined by dissociation is one way the mind copes with too much stress, such as during a traumatic event. The word dissociation can be used in different ways, but it usually describes an experience where you feel disconnected in some way from the world around you or from yourself. Dissociative disorders usually develop as a way to cope with trauma. The disorders most often form in children subjected to long-term physical or sexual or emotional abuse, home environment that's frightening or highly unpredictable. And this is starting to appear in adults now. So adults are coming out with their YouTube videos and are explaining how they're feeling these signs and these symptoms. Memory loss, amnesia of certain time periods, events, and people. A sense of being detached from yourself, not feeling like yourself and feeling different than what you normally would associate with yourself. Mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts and attempts to escape your mind, basically. You have a blurred sense of identity and reality, and you can't decide what's real and what's not. Some people have said that they feel like they have blurry eyesight and they are just experiencing a lot of psychosomatic symptoms that are coming from the mind, disassociating itself. So let me tell you about myself. I am an astral empath, but I'm a soul like you that has gone through the awakening process and has reached down into myself to connect spiritually to a consciousness that we are all connected to. And we are involved in a collective story, and it involves aliens, it involves humans, it involves lots of different types of beings. So what I want to ask you too is that after you hear this video, please don't go onto my other videos and then judge me based on how I choose to express myself. There are many people that you're going to see them express themselves very differently than maybe previous humans in the past, because we're entering a new age. So the identity is coming out. Whatever your soul is, whatever part of the collective consciousness that you represent, you're coming out. And a lot of people are now expressing themselves. And so this is a really, truly exciting time. Yes, I did a lot of shadow work. Thank you, Tanya. Namaste. Thank you. Blessings. I did a lot of shadow work. Absolutely. And sorry, for those of you on YouTube, what happened was I just had a follower just tell me that I did a lot of shadow work. Shadow work, it comes with looking at yourself, the things that you don't like, things that you're afraid of. And what some people are not talking about, shadow work is also about looking at the shadows of the world around you and trying to find the light within those events and going through the darkness in that way. So I have come through the shadow work of my soul. I have awakened into my light being self. That awakens me next into my next phase, where I can self-express myself as whatever soul that I vibrate at and I have a special resonance with. You right now watching, you are special and unique, and you have a very unique vibration and resonancy to you. So do not judge me by the way that I express myself. That is my form of creativity and self-expression as a creative consciousness source on earth with all of you. We are all gods and goddesses in our own ways. We are the microcosm within a macrocosm. So that's a little bit about me. But I want to get to you and why people are experiencing these symptoms and signs. Let's go to the very beginning where we talk about the definition. It's the way the mind copes with too much stress during a traumatic event. Isn't our world in a stressful, traumatic event together? Be honest with yourself. You have many, many things coming to surface. The lies are being revealed. You're seeing that so many children are molested and are tortured. You're seeing that there's hidden things going on that the masses don't quite know about, but things are coming up to surface. What is that doing to a lot of people? It's causing a great fear in them. We have wars, or we're on the brink of war, World War III, by world leaders that can't get along, and they can't see, they are not spiritually awakened themselves. So we are in a traumatic event as a collective consciousness together as one. It is your personal experience that you went through, such as long-term physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. That can happen as a child. Terrible to hear, but it does. And many of us have gone through that. You're not supposed to experience that. You are going through that experience in order to move you towards an awakening eventually. But the problem is, and I see it now, that the damage is so deep. The trauma and the stress on earth is so deep. It's embedded in people where they can't wake up. So what do you have? You have souls that are taking on the mission and the volunteer job to help those awaken who are ready to stop suffering, to awaken to a new self, a new part of consciousness that creates a new world together that is not going to be stressful and traumatic, but is going to be full of harmony. Now, we may disagree and we may get into fights, but human consciousness is awakening and growing. We are becoming wiser. We are questioning and analyzing. We have reason. We're different than animals. I love animals, but we're different than animals because we have the ability to reason. We are gaining perspective. But the problem is that this other side of things, a spiritual reality, is hard to see for some. But that's okay, because I bet you can do things that I can't. And that's what makes this world so great. We have souls to mirror parts of the collective consciousness that can do different things for each other. I can read the spiritual ether energy. You could probably balance your checkbook better than me. You can probably create a computer motherboard. You can design. You could do a beautiful painting. You have a talent that I don't have. So take my skills and my only gift that I have and that I came into the world to experience as truth. That's all I'm asking you. And just look at the symptoms of dissociative disorder and see that this is something that is arising in human consciousness in a lot of ways, because it is the unconscious part of the collective that is awakening. I'll be honest with you guys. Part of the other part of the collective that are the awakened, and they say that, you know, oh, are you woke yet? Are you awakened? Well, if you're truly awakened, then you were waiting for this moment in time. This moment of waiting for others to kind of go through a stirring in their soul. And I am so sorry that it's this traumatic. But I guess what's happening is that the people that are experiencing the traumatic events, they have not searched spiritually for answers. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault at all. It's just what you had to go through. And that's what you represented in this world. Whereas some, they found spiritual guidance and they just looked a little bit deeper for some of the answers. And the answers are within yourself. The answers all lie within yourselves. And also, there are other types of forms of answers to those that are religious. Do not take this as an insult or try to be defensive against this. I have awakened to understand that the books are about us. All of the religious books are about us. But here's the thing. There's illusions and truths in the world. So the illusions come from your ego. So in the books, you have laws and customs and ideas and opinions that come from a personal ego of the writer of those books. But sometimes you get a glimmer of higher truth and wisdom that can be universally felt as true. The golden rule, which all world religions adhere to, is universal truth. That is something that all of us feel deep inside as true. So that's how I feel about religions. So you never have to have a fear about me not understanding religions. But it is time to see yourself for who you really are. God, the collective consciousness, is not as limiting as we have been made to feel or think or believe. It is us in a growing force towards life. And it splits itself, we split ourselves into many forms. And we experience ourselves on different levels of consciousness and awakening that represents that collective source, which is wholeness, peace, and bliss, and total self-realization. When you are one with God or at Buddhahood, that's when you have your spiritual awakening, that's when you're in your enlightenment, and you then know the secret to this world. You know the secret then how to create from your new knowledge. So here is the new phase. Not everybody is going to watch my video, I'm sure, but those that were called to the video and are suffering from dissociative disorder, I want you to just have this idea in the back of your mind. I want you to think that the home environment that's frightening or highly unpredictable is Earth. It's Earth. And it is your childhood, and it is the place that you maybe grew up in and around, because those people around you are not spiritually awakened. Once you spiritually awaken, you don't harm others. You know the truth. So what do when you're spiritually awakened? You go about building, constructing, and creating something beautiful with others that are also awakened too. We have been waiting for everyone to join us now. We are in the new Earth. People have been talking about dimension shift and the new Earth, and everybody's been taking it as not the truth, but here we are. People have been forced now to come along because a collective moves together. We're a collective. If you were born on Earth, you're a collective together. We are here on Earth. Regardless of your origin, your star origin, you were that in your past lifetime and in your incarnation. That was your consciousness that you came from. And that's part of the collective story and part of your personal story. But it is time now to awaken to the truth that the traumatic events, the suffering, the pain, the feelings of wanting to escape through suicide, the feelings like there's no hope, and you look at the world and it's a dark, dark place. Well, yes, it has become dark because it's called the unconscious collective that has allowed themselves to dream this nightmare into existence just because they've been asleep for a very long time. So some souls had to awaken and now are giving the message. And this has happened throughout all human ages. You've always had people to kind of just remind people, hey, don't hold on to that gold so hard. Don't think of your body as just you. Look to the sky. Look above you. Feel one with nature. Meditate. Feel your true essence inside of you. They've been telling people throughout the ages. So it's time now. I cannot believe how many videos on YouTube have people that are suffering, and they are making these blogs because they're trying to understand and they're trying to connect to others. Those of you who are awakened, if you actually go on to YouTube right now, you will be amazed. It is about, I don't even know how much, I feel so bad that I have not paid attention to their suffering. And I am sorry for that, because I have been busy doing other things. But I see it now, and I can help you because I went through this. I committed suicide, or I tried. And then I had a near-death experience later on, a couple years later, and I had severe dehydration, and I remembered all of this, and I decided to come back to be a different role, basically, than what I was before. And that's how consciousness works. When you can remove yourself from the body in the terms of spiritual consciousness, you can then see a larger perspective of who you are. And then you can decide what you want to see. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And because you have this perspective, you have a greater power to you to do the things that you really want to do. And what would that be for people who are suffering from this dissociative disorder? It is to heal, to realize what they are going through, that you're not sick, you are not having some kind of mental breakdown. Well, you are, but you're not permanently sick. This is not a permanent illness that you're going to deal with your entire life. I promise you that. You're going to move past it, and one day you're going to wake up and you're just going to see the world in a different way. Nature will be sparkling. People will seem like they're full of love, but yet you'll see some of the darkness still, but you'll know where it comes from, because you'll see, okay, those are the souls that are just not awakened yet. I get it. I get it. And then you will start to recreate from this place. You'll get out of your job that causes you suffering and you feel like you're just doing it for the money. You'll find a profession and a career that draws you. You want to help people? So be it. You want to guide people? Yes. I mean, anything that you feel once you awaken, you can do. That is the most amazing thing. The Bible and the religious books, they don't go into it because they end with an apocalypse. And you think that's the end of the world. The apocalypse is the Greek word for the veil unlifting, or the veil lifting, unveiling itself. That's what's going on. And it's not the end, but this, we basically, we're going through the apocalypse. It's a rapture for some souls. They're being taken up into a newer, higher consciousness and dimension of experience. You can watch many of my videos and I talk about dimensions and how it shapes your reality. This is all part of the plan, a greater consciousness outside of yourself. It's outside of your ego. So the only way you can get in touch with it is by meditation and by putting your ego and your opinions and your personal biases and judgments away. It's hard to do, but you can do it if you get into daily meditation, reflection, and you just allow yourself to be still before you respond to people or before you form an opinion. Make sure that it's coming from a place of love. That's a really easier way to get in touch with this higher consciousness, because the higher consciousness that we do come from is love. It's a loving source. So memory loss, amnesia of certain time periods, events, and people. I would say that you are disassociating because your mind has had enough. Your mind has had enough of this earth in the terms of the terrible things that you see and the terrible things that you have been through. And that's because you have unawakened people around you. And so your mind is trying to kind of make sense of reality, but it can't. So your mind escapes out of your body for a while. This is an astral projection in a way. It's what people who are conscious and are into the new age and the spirituality, they do astral projection. I do astral projection to the Pleiades and to fairyland. I like it there. So that's what's happening. If you're not conscious yet and you think it's all just a material world, then you'll just disassociate because you're coming with all of us. The collective moves together because we are one, but we are the many. And it's so hard to explain this in words. I'm really hoping that you understand, and I hope that whoever sees this video, it gives them some sort of healing and understanding. And maybe deep down inside, you always knew this about yourself in the moments of consciousness, because you're not just conscious all the time and then unaware all the time. It's a wave. It goes and flows. So you're aware, something will happen, then you become unaware, you go back to your ego. You're aware, and then something else will happen. You'll see a terrible event in the world, like a war, a tragedy, 200 people are shot and killed. Oh my goodness. You're going to go back down. You're going to go back up, all is love. You're going to go back down. It's a wave. It's a wave, and so you're not going to always experience that sense of unawareness and dissociation from your body, but that is happening to the souls that haven't figured this out yet. That's what's going on. No shame, no mistake you made. It's part of your journey, and not everybody's going to watch this video, I'm sure. So those of you who are watching this video, this is what you needed to hear at this particular time. You're ready to, hopefully. If not, put this in just in the back of your mind. Go about and do your life. Go to your doctor and get your pills. But maybe question before you take a pill. Question if this is truly you in all existence in this huge multiverse. Watch more science videos about quantum physics. Those videos and those articles that are out there in the world, they do help people awaken, because they show a quantum world that we're all part of, and that nothing is really physical, but it's experienced as physical, but we're really energetic. We're really energy. A sense of being detached from yourself. So this is, like I said, you're feeling disassociated with who you are because you're awakening, and you're like, this is not really who I am. This is not really what I want to see or what I came into the world to do. People aren't supposed to be like this with each other. Wait a minute. We're smarter than this. Oh, okay. You start to kind of awaken that way. That's really what the awakening process is. By looking at the shadow of the world, the darkness in the world, you start to come towards the light. By looking at your darkness within yourself, you start to come towards the light. And let's see here. Mental health problems such as depression, anxiety. Well, depression will be caused because you'll feel isolated or alone in this. You'll feel like you're damaged, like there's something wrong with you. Why are you feeling like this? Why are other people happy? Why can't you be happy? Oh, you're a terrible person. You're a terrible soul. Nobody loves you, and you're alone forever. I know that feeling. And it's really just because you're stuck in your ego self. Not arrogance. This is not about arrogance. This is about your small self on earth that is related to the higher dimensional self, which is the higher consciousness, your higher self. So that's what's going on with that. You're depressed because, why am I feeling like this? I shouldn't feel like this. I should feel happy. Other people are happy. Why can't I get happy? But wait a minute, there's terrible things in the world, and I suffered so much, and I went through all of my trauma in my life. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live. I don't want to live. I don't want to get out of bed. I know the feeling. That's depression. And it is a depression of your, basically your emotions, and dealing with some of the things that are coming up, and you might be pushing it aside, and eventually it does come out. But then by then it's like this cycle of feeling very sad and isolated. And only until you can start to connect back to others do you start to realize, like, you're not alone in the world, that people do love you and care. That's a real big healer for those who are suicidal. Also, to get out of their toxic environments. If you are surrounded by people who are not awakening, who are selfish, greedy, manipulative, they don't see the inner light in people, they don't have the interconnection, they don't want to spread love, get out of that situation if you can. Help those that are in that situation. Help them in any way that you can. We can all help each other. When one rises, we all rise together. And that's actually what has happened. We basically have all started rising together because a lot of us have been making that move and have been ready for it, because we've been looking at the world through reality eyes, not illusion and not hopes and not dreams, but reality. And it's been bothering us for a very long time, and it's bothering people, and they're disassociating because they don't want to be part of this world, and they don't really know how to deal with it, because maybe they haven't found that spiritual grounding, which will help you understand what's going on. And that's really what this video is about. Anxiety. Well, anxiety, yes, because then you're restless. You don't know what to do with your life. You have anxiety. Should I go to a doctor? Should I not? What should I be doing with my life? Oh, I'm wasting my life away. Then you're going to pace up and down. You're not going to go to bed. You feel restless. You have a panic attack. You start breathing, hyperventilating. I have so much trauma in my life, and you can't breathe, and you just feel suffocated. That's anxiety. And I had that. I went to the hospital twice for anxiety because I lost my mother at a young age and I had a really difficult childhood. And it was difficult. It was difficult. A lot of people have gone through, everybody, let's just say it, everybody, it's all part of your stories, because it's about the triumph over those events into what you become. What else? Suicidal thoughts. Like I said, I wrote a note in my early 20s. I was going to lie down in a bathtub. Yes, it was like, what was that? The 30 tape thing? It was all of that. I was basically going to lie down in a bathtub because a man didn't want to reciprocate my love, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And so I wrote this goodbye note to my parents, and I was going to go into the bathtub, and I was thinking about just using a razor and slitting, doing that. And instead something came into me, and I called a friend who actually took me to the hospital to actually talk about what I was experiencing, and basically I got help. So suicide is serious. Take it seriously and get the help that you need, but understand that it is part of your rebirth process. You are awakening. They say in some of the religious texts, it's called like a second death. I think it's more in the Quran. I don't know if it's in the Bible, but in the Quran they talk about a second death. So you have one death where you go through a rebirth period and a reawakening, and then you have your second death, which actually leads you to the hereafter, into another experience in whatever happens that you choose, that your soul has moved you towards because of the consciousness that you leave this earth with, basically. Okay, a blurred sense of identity. A blurred sense of identity. Yeah, I guess that's a real symptom. That has happened. That has happened to me because you're questioning yourself. You have ego death going on. You're dying. Your ego is dying. So you're questioning yourself. You're questioning your little self. You're like, does this all mean something to me? Does my life, does my husband, you look at your dogs, you look at your cat, you're like, who am I? Do I even like this life? What am I doing with my job? You're questioning yourself because you're starting to realize that you're not just you for all eternity, as some of the religious books kind of made you think a little bit. You are you just temporarily in this body, in this form, in this consciousness, in this story, in this journey, just in this one lifetime. But you have more later. So that is you having a blurred sense of identity, because all those identities, your multidimensional self, is coming into view, and it's making you question who you are. And that's the blurred sense of identity that you're going through. A lot of it does have to do with energy, because as the world shifts together into a new dimension of experience from their consciousness, the magnetic fields around everything and the way that the energy is, I'm not a scientist. I can't get too much into it. Somebody else can do that. I'll leave you on that job. It's probably causing some kind of pull on your body. So as the consciousness is shifting, as people are pulling everybody up because they have been seekers and looking for new ways, as Einstein said, we cannot rebuild a new world with an old existing consciousness that we had. We just focus on building a new. So what a lot of us have realized is that you can't fight the old world. You can't go out with your weapons on the street and take over those that you feel are doing evil in the world, because it's confusing. Who is causing the issues? There's a lot of secrecy hidden. That doesn't work. What works is actually rebuilding a world and just forgetting about that. And what's going to happen is they're going to be pulled into the world regardless. So they'll have their awakening too eventually. Or what will happen is those people in power, they can't be in power. any longer. And so what will happen is it'll just be a natural unfolding of changing over the system, basically, to align to our new values as awakened beings. We have a lot more experience, I feel, within our world to experience as far as who we can become as humans in this story and experiencing a new world together and awakening together. So your treatment, so I took this off of a site, and it's by the Wong Medical Center. And I will say the way that they're treating dissociative disorder, because I guess it's becoming a big thing over in China, I guess that's where they are here. They are doing acupuncture, hypnosis, herb medication, and like plant healing, and a new kind of diet that's healthier, and counseling. That's their treatment. So I don't know what they're doing in America for dissociative disorder, but just so you know, there's another way. Let all of this sink in. This is hard to grasp, and it's coming from me, so it's not maybe a personal awakening. If you stumbled upon my channel, it might be really difficult for you to hear. But just like I said, just take a little bit of time and just really be patient with yourself and just allow things to kind of settle and sink in. And I just hope that this helps whoever comes onto my channel. And I'm here to help. I do sessions, and I'll leave it in the description so you can reach out to me if you need to. Namaste, and welcome to the new earth, where you can experience a new world and a new you. Consciousness is infinite. It really is. Just discover it for yourself and you'll see.